you know, we'll see if we continue to talk about Adam's stomach gas, or if we talk about other things like Microsoft.
Microsoft, yes.
So I usually have all sorts of great things set up here on my talk about Adam's stomach gas, or if we talk about other things like Microsoft. Oh, there you go. I usually have all sorts of great things set up here on my there we go. I'll shut that down. There we are. Okay, so now we know where it started. The recording started right at that point. Now, what else am I looking at here now? So, John, you have a presentation already. I'll do my intro here a bit. I would have the stuff that I usually go through, and I have like nice intro-y things. For some reason,
yeah, let's not change the normal procedure. You'll get there.
Right. Well, the normal. I wonder how much the normal procedure is Adam mussing around trying to get anything done last minute. But today in particular, it's extra. What is this saying? Oh wow. Okay, so it's trying to get my camera. I have a EOS Rebel, Canon Rebel, that I have a program now set up for it. Apparently, I didn't realize that. So it's trying to show my image as a camera. I think I'm just gonna skip that for now and maybe play with that in the background. So we'll not do that. We'll just see Adam's side face, and John, you'll be the main star today anyway. So, okay, going back to this lovely thing over here, we can present with Shift F5. Nope, that's not it. Oh, Shift Function F5 because I'm on my laptop. That's what it is. All right, welcome to Adam's Friday Flow. We've got some stuff going on here. We're live on YouTube, so you can use it on your social media and everything else you'd like. And there's notes from last week, and there's something else. And okay, laptop is not the most convenient to use. That's okay. Norms. Engage the challenges, attend at a whim, and connect your biz. This is, we're gonna do the attendee greeting, open discussion, and then action asks about 10 minutes to the end, where you get about 10 seconds to see how we can help you with your quest. Welcome to Adam's Friday Flow with entrepreneurs. I'm thinking about changing the name of this. I originally wanted to call this the Flow Forum because I wanted more of a discussion anyway, and that really shows what it is. Whereas Friday, it's like, well, okay, so it happens on Friday, so what? And yet it seemed that people still asked when it happened, so it's not like that really helped much. So
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just,
can you get any more obvious than saying Friday Flow? I don't think you can get any more obvious than that.
I know. So, but Friday Flow Forum was just a little too much of a mouthful, so I decided to go with Friday instead of the forum. But I think I might go to the Flow Forum, because I wanted people to talk about what really gets them in the flow. Flow, of course, being when you're really feeling optimally engaged in what you're doing in life. So the challenge question is a question in itself, but it's gonna be something about what do you use instead of Microsoft, or what do you use for your word processing and spreadsheets and stuff. And I guess I'll ask that real quick. Annie, what do you use?
I use mostly Microsoft, to be quite honest with you, but I am looking for alternatives.
That's great. So John's got it connected, and he'll tell you about his story. I use Google Sheets a lot because it was a free thing and I had it, and I liked the idea that it was interactive. You could work on it with other people at the same time, and be updated real time. So that was why I thought that was pretty nifty. And then I also have LibreOffice on my laptop here. So those are options that I know of. And of course, I was very familiar with Excel and other Microsoft stuff, and I knew all the fancy tricks. Well, not all of them. I knew a handful of very fancy tricks, and got really deep into reprogramming stuff, using macros and things. So on the Excel. So there's some fun stuff that I got accustomed to, and here I go moving myself too fast again. Okay. So that's a little bit about that. There's that's from last week. I don't know what this week was. People's answers were, but that's okay. So publishable intros. Go ahead and put your intros on here. They may get published at some point, so that people know who you are and what you're doing. And include your website if you haven't. http:// whatever. And if you do that, then I'll be able to click on it real easy. And if you don't have that on the front of it, I might give you a hard time. So Annie, you gave your LinkedIn location as opposed
to, because you know what, I'm in the process of figuring out what to do with the company. I think I'm going to create a holding company, so I'm shifting gears.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am, because of the fact that when this whole thing started, I named my company CCH, but it's pivoted quite a bit more in the past year. And then because I have another company, I may end up putting a parent company above my other companies and have a holding company as a parent company. So I'm changing direction a little bit from company structure. So that's why, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I have the domain and the name. I just have to work on it, is really what it amounts to. Right, because I've got the consulting side, I've got the real estate side, which is a sustainable community. So it might make more sense at this point to have a holding company structure.
Yeah.
Just for asset protection and going forward, I may not change this name, but I'm changing the parent name.
What's the difference between a holding company and whatever else you had before?
I didn't have a holding company. I just had this as a separate entity, which when you have a holding company, you could have separate divisions or subsidiaries underneath the holding company. And the holding company is nothing, it doesn't own any assets. It just really you can have different companies underneath that, right? It's kind of like an enterprise company, and then you have different companies with their own tax IDs. I mean, I did this before when I did corporate taxation. We had a parent company, and a lot of times if we had different companies in Germany and in Switzerland and in London, they all had their own tax IDs. Wow. But they're part of the parent company. And you can file, there's some benefits to doing that. And it's more or less, for me, it's an asset protection thing going forward. I'm thinking ahead a little bit more. Right?
Wow.
That's how I'm looking at this, is strategy from a business strategy perspective. I'm going to name it something more appropriate and something more generic and something more. I have the name. I just, I'm just still really doing research on how to do the inner workings of. In other words, this will become an operating company underneath the entity, the holding company. And the holding company isn't doing any operations. Anything underneath it does the operations. Okay.
Well, that's really interesting, because I've heard of holding companies a couple times, and every time I hear about them, I learn a little more about what that all means. That's great. It's one of the reasons I do this, is so I can learn all kinds of great stuff.
Well, and I'm learning as well. I mean, like I said, I know a little bit, but not nearly enough.
That's funny. Okay, I'm going to do a new share here. I'm going to share my web page here. This is, again, still the old one. When I say old one, it's not like I've got a new one ready. I've got a new one coming. It's been coming a long time, but I haven't really been pushing on it. So there's some great reviews on here talking about how I change people's lives. In fact, some of these folks I'm returning to right now to work with some more. So that's kind of exciting when people have me back to make their world work more smoothly, so they can spend the time doing the things they want to do. So that's pretty cool. Looks like I've got ones from long ago, so maybe I should get people to give a new review or something. But that's that. I got a new thing coming up, but I want to move on now. We talked with Annie. So John, I'm just gonna let you kind of just take off from here.
Okay. You
Yeah.
gonna tell me how I go about getting my slides up so that I can show them to people?
So first I have to change on my side. That allow participants to share screen. So now you should be able to share your screen. So you go ahead and click on share screen. Down on the bottom, it's the green one.
Green one.
And then
Oh,
the green button on the bottom of the Zoom. And then you'll have like, it'll pop up a bunch of options for you and you figure out which one you really want to show. You can go the whole desktop.
Okay. So I see Zoom, join the meeting, sign in, but I think I'm already signed in. So maybe that should be put away. And no, I don't want to leave the meeting. So maybe you bumped me off. Maybe I need to sign in again.
No, you're still here.
Okay. So you're still on, John.
Oh, here I see the magic green button now. Let me click that. Ta-da.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you should have like depending how many windows you have open on your desktop.
Okay, should really only have one window plus, of course, the Zoom meeting. Yeah. And what I'd like to do would be to open the slideshow because that's what we're about today.
Yeah, what you'll see, I'm assuming what
you only have.
So I'm assuming what you've done is you've pushed the share screen button.
Yes.
And so now you have a bunch of like little windows on an option palette sitting in front of you.
Yes.
And so on that option palette, you can share your whole screen, which usually is the first one. You can do a whiteboard, which is the next one. And I don't think you want either of those. So somewhere, do you already have the presentation open on another window?
I haven't, but I mean, all I do have to do is click. Let me click. And okay, it's now open.
Okay, so did it show up on the palette or do you have to close that window and then push share screen again?
Maybe that's what I have to do.
Because share screen and then select the screen you want to share.
Yeah, but hold on until he actually
from the
can see
option
it.
palette, like Adam said.
Option palette. I feel really smart using that word.
Okay, you got
option palette.
However you want to call it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
I'm lost. So I'm at this. I'm still at the screen with all of the various things. And
okay,
of course,
so
the main window open, which is fine.
So,
I don't have anything secret there.
Yeah. So you opened the document, and then you closed the sharing palette. And then you opened the sharing palette again, share screen palette.
Yes, so I'm at the share screen palette.
So look, each one should be labeled underneath it, and maybe you can see it. And you find that
I say using chat, update, stuff like that.
No. The palette should be labeled screen 1, whiteboard.
Yeah, hold on.
Because I pulled it up. I'm getting screen 1, screen 2.
Annie, hold on a moment. I'll talk them through. Otherwise, if there's too many chefs, then people get confused.
Yes.
All right. So John, you have in front of you a page with a bunch of squares on it that say like whiteboard or your screen.
No, I've got ones that say pro tip using a desktop client.
Okay. So hold on a moment. Before I make sure you get back to Zoom, you do have, is it on PowerPoint or what's the presentation on?
It's on the PowerPoint equivalent of LibreShip.
Oh yeah, great. So you have that open and it's ready to play.
I can click that now and have it open. So let me do that. Okay, that's open, and I can do slideshow.
Yeah, you don't have to do that much yet.
Oh,
it'll work fine.
Okay.
So I'll show you real quick with mine. So I'm gonna push on screen share. So you don't do anything right now. Just listen to me, and you'll see some of this. And now I have in front of me, I have a window that says select a window on or an application that you want to share. Okay, so this is right after That's okay.
I
Hold
never
on.
got that.
Yeah. So I push the share screen, and then I have that, and it has the first option would be screen. Second board is whiteboard. Next one is iPhone or iPad for some reason, which
Okay.
I understand, but it doesn't have anything to do with it.
I never got that screen.
Okay. And so then I have 5 other things, including sticky notes open, which is kind of ridiculous, actually. In my case, I shouldn't have all this stuff open when I'm trying to present. But I do have one that says I've got my LibreOffice. And so I'm going to open that up. And here's that. So what I can do then is I can do slideshow. And
Okay, I see that.
I've already got it presenting, so that throws me off a little bit. So I'm going to see if I can escape that thing. There we go.
So
And then I can go show and can start slides. All right. So that's what I did. Okay. So that's I'm going to stop share. And so now go ahead and push on the green share screen button on Zoom.
All right. So I'm looking for that green, and I've got this thing with 4 squares on it, but I don't have a button that says share screen. So I am one step ahead of you or something. Let me see.
Somewhere.
Zoom, follow.
But Annie, you said that you do have the share screen option, right?
Yes, I do. If you look at the bottom, you have buttons at the bottom.
Yeah.
Mute, stop video, participants, chat, share screen, record reactions. And then the leave red button on the right-hand corner of your Zoom meeting.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm not there, obviously.
Okay. So are you at the Zoom meeting? You're looking at the screen for the Zoom meeting, John?
How do you know?
This is good.
Yeah,
this is what we're about. We're about figuring this stuff out. So you're doing great. Okay. So do you see your face, Annie's face, and my face? Or one of those
I did,
moving
but
around?
After I pushed buttons, that went away. So
okay, so now you're just looking at a screen. You don't have any of our faces smiling back at you.
That's right.
Okay, so you're on a Mac, right?
Join live Zoom demo. I don't want that.
No, go down to your navigation bar at the bottom of your desktop page and look for Zoom meeting.
Okay. That's probably what that is, but it's kind of off the screen. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, click on that.
Yeah, that should bring us up. Did it bring us up?
No. And you were here. I'm
gonna
close this silly thing out.
Yeah.
I'm back to where I signed on from the start. So
this is good. This is part of the reason I started this little things.
Thank you so much. I am okay, you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, you're still here.
Well, then I'm still on. I'm just not showing.
Yeah, you're definitely still on. So go back down to your navigation bar. How many things do you have open?
Oh, I've only got I've got a Windows thing, but it's closed down, and I've got and just the main screen. Nothing. There's some that are minimized, but nothing on the main.
The thing is that if they're minimized, they still show up on the navigation, right?
Yes.
And
I can close them.
You don't need to, but just to clarify, one of those says Zoom meeting.
Okay. That's
right.
Probably the blue thing. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's the blue. And so I'm using my laptop right now, so I've got my buttons are giving me funky options, but it should give you different options. And
now it's got a Zoom sign in.
Okay, don't do that because you're already signed in. So there might be like a little window up in the corner or something that you see
Oh, there. Now I've got the little window. It's got your picture.
Yeah.
And Annie was on there, but I don't see her right at this minute.
Yeah, she's got the frozen image. But what we could do is there might be a explosion screen or like something that says to go out. It's like a little square with an arrow pointing out of it. The corner.
Okay, in the corner, there's the 3 dots, which usually gives you all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. You click on that.
let's see what happens.
Oh. Wait. Okay, so you actually do have, and it says, does it say more under it or the epsilon?
Well, when I clicked on it, it says new tab, new window, new something window, history, downloads, bookmarks. I should put on my glasses. I could actually read it.
It doesn't sound like that's the Zoom thing.
No.
So our first goal is to get back to Zoom somehow. So, but you say you see the Zoom thing and it has buttons on it.
Well, I did, but you know, those things change with time.
How about push Alt Tab? Have you ever used that?
Probably. Let's see what happens with Alt Tab. Okay, now I got you in a little window on the right-hand side.
Okay.
And I got me.
Great. And on the bottom of the Zoom screen, do you see
Yes.
buttons like mute, stop
Yes.
video?
Yes, and more.
Okay, so make the screen big. So maximize
Okay.
the screen. Or the window.
Fine. Okay, you're taking over my whole window.
Hi. So now also down in the bottom menu there would be share screen.
Yes, I
It
see
should be
share
green
screen.
one. So click
Yes.
on that.
Dying. Okay.
Now see if you've got LibreOffice as one of your options.
Yeah.
Click on
There.
that.
Yeah. And now
There
it
we go.
shows up.
John Barney has started sharing screen. Life after Windows ?
All right. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me click slideshow start.
Yep.
Ta-da. Hey, there we are.
Yeah.
So, shall we start?
You go for it.
Okay. Hi, Annie. Thank you for joining us today. I'm surprised that we even got somebody, because being the holiday weekend that it is. So, life after Windows. I've been around in the computer business for a long time, and we'll talk a little bit about it as I go. But what I want to cover today is why you should continue to like Windows. And I know I've had a love-hate relationship with them for most of my life, so you probably have similar feelings about that. Maybe why you should be looking at alternatives, and I've heard from both of you that those are things you're considering, so I think that'll be talked about today. And to really point out to you that you have some options. So my background, I graduated from high school in Oregon City, Oregon, and joined the Navy. Became an aviation electronics technician, was anti-submarine warfare. If you've ever watched the movie In Search of Red October, and they talked about those P-3s, those were the planes I was involved in, and been in and out of those planes, and probably most all of the electronics that was on them. And so that's kind of what I was involved. Out of the Navy,
Cool.
Go ahead.
I just said cool.
Okay. Out of the Navy, I joined a new professor at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, and he was in a high energy spark chamber group, which crazy things that physicists do. And there I met my first computer, which was a digital equipment company, PDP-8. It wouldn't even be equivalent to of course, minimum laptop computer that we have today. Well, Professor Pondrum, or as they, in high energy physics at the University of Wisconsin, everybody went by their first name. So Lee said, hey, John, we got this computer. Now we've got a bunch of these XY motor measuring tables and projectors that project the pictures we've taken from our last experiment. And oh yeah, there's over 1 million pictures that we need to do. We hire a bunch of undergraduates to measure these pictures. And what I want you to do is interface this computer to these XY tables. And oh, by the way, write a magnetic 7-track magnetic tape so that we can get that data into the mainframe computers. And of course, I was in my early 20s at that time. And I said, surely I know how to do that. Well, of course, I didn't. And included with that was, 12-foot long section of shelves with manuals. And I asked him, how do you program it? And he explained to me it was really simple. You've got this teletype. It goes 10 characters per second, blinding speed. And oh, by the way, your source code is punched paper tape. And you see a picture of that, or here's a little. So your source code ended up being something like this tape here on the bottom. Well, the story I want to tell about that is that my first program took me at least a month to write. And in those days, you wrote in assembly language, which is a long way from today's modern languages. Took me a good month to write, and not trying to bore you with the details.
Yeah.
The way it worked was when you started it, you had a little foot switch. You pushed the foot switch, and then it went off and did all this stuff that took me over a month to write. And the first thing it did was it turned on a light, and then it went off and did all that stuff. And when it was through with that, well, it turned the light off. And it took me an embarrassingly long time. Like I imagine a few days, maybe even longer, to figure out that the reason the light bulb never lit was because the computer went through that stuff that took me over a month to write so fast that the light bulb never had a chance to light.
Oh, so you needed a delay after it or something?
I had to write a delay in order to get the light bulb to light.
Wow.
That really was a good lesson because it doesn't really compute sometimes how fast these computers really go.
Yeah.
So, but why you still want to like Windows? Well, if you believe Microsoft, they tell you that there are over 1 billion people using Microsoft. If you talk to other people, they say, oh, no, it's nothing like that. It's only 500 million. Nevertheless, it's a lot of people out there. A lot of people know how to use it. And so if you have a business and you want to hire new people, you're going to be able to find somebody who knows how to use Microsoft Windows. Also, if you go back in Microsoft long enough that you remember the blue screen of death, Microsoft has really got, I think, Windows 10 to be really quite stable. And I haven't had any serious problems with it for certainly over a year. So that's a pretty good deal. There are lots of ops. When I was preparing this, I got to thinking about it. Okay, I'm sitting here in my little office in home in Albuquerque, and I want to do a printed circuit board. Fine, I can download a free application, capture this electronic schematic, and then have that transferred automatically to a printed circuit board layout software, which even has auto routers. And so in a very short time, I can have a complete printed circuit board laid out. I can email that, and there are many companies now that will supply you with 3 to 5 day turnarounds. And for an investment of $10 to $50, depending on the size of your printed circuit board, I have 5 to 10 printed circuit boards back to test out my new circuit. And then, okay, what if you're going to do something mechanical? You can do the same kind of thing and have a 3D printable version. You can find an online source that can take your your files and create a physical part. And these 3D printers have gotten amazingly good. They used to be just plastic, but now I understand there are even metal type things that you can print with them. And I'm not an expert in that area, but and of course, you want to do accounting. There's a lot of accounting software available also. So the emphasis, the reason that you may want to keep Microsoft in your background is because there are so many trained users out there.
Yeah.
But now why move? Okay, well, there are lots of options. And now I'm a nerd. I'm a geek, and so part of the reason I want to look at other things is because I feel to have in my toolbox, I need other options than just straight Microsoft work. But the big thing for me, now that I'm not working for a regular company where they provided me all of the tools and software, if I needed a few $1,000s of new software, fine, they just write a purchase order, to where I got to think about spending hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. And Microsoft is changing their pricing structure. In the old days, you bought a PC and Windows came installed on it, and you were happy for a couple of years. Not anymore. Microsoft wants to move you into the clouds, and they want to charge you a monthly fee. Something that has been particularly irritating to me recently is that they go through frequent updates, and their frequent updates aren't small. It seems to me the last one that I had to go through, and of course at the time I wanted to get this slideshow ready, it took a good portion of a half hour to an hour, which I couldn't use my computer because it was busily updating. I'm sure you've had similar experiences. On a personal note, a popular used to be free application called GitHub, where people writing software could put their software available where other people could come contribute to it. And if you paid a little bit, you could also have a secure copy. So if you were a company wanting to develop software in multiple locations, but anyway, Microsoft has bought them, and they're no longer free. And I found that a little bit irritating. They also turned out to have bought LinkedIn, and I haven't noticed any changes, but then I'm not a heavy user of LinkedIn. Probably we're going to see some changes there. If you are a mindset, and it always amazed me that there are people out there that have enough knowledge to create viruses that can't find something better in their life to do. But if you were going to create a virus, if you had the knowledge to do that kind of thing, Microsoft is the place to attack because it's out there in so many places. So they're going to be one of the first places that the people for malware and viruses are going to attack. And the thing that I learned in being business for myself was that it's really good to keep your fixed costs low. I learned that one of the times when we were struggling as a small consulting company, that not having some small bills monthly coming in was the difference between survival and failure. And of course, what I want to talk about today is to make sure you know you have some options. So we're going to talk about some of those options. So there's been a development of a group of people or way of thinking about software that is somewhat based on altruism, I guess. And, uh, and so there is a movement called the open source software. And uh, the, um, the trick here is that software is generally, I don't know that you can patent it. I haven't looked into it in some years to know, but generally software is copyrighted. And the people who subscribe to the idea of open source software grant a license which says that you are free to use their software in any way you want to, for anything, for studying, for modifying. And many of them are part of a small group that is trying to maybe make whatever their application is better. And so they're making this software available, and it really works. But the thing that you got to be aware of when you get involved in this is that there are no guarantees. In fact, if you read their licenses on most of these things, you'll find that there's one of the statements is basically in legalese that we don't guarantee this for anything or any suitability, and it's use at your own risk. So those are things to think about. And it's one thing that what I can do as a geek on my own time, and what you want to do as a company where you have multiple employees is something you need to think. So before you jump, free isn't free. Even though you get free software, there's a learning curve associated with it. And particularly if you're going to have employees, they're going to have a learning curve in part of it. So free,
John,
free. Go ahead.
Just as a thought here, I think you've been going for about 10 minutes. Do you think you're about halfway through?
Oh, I'm 3/4 the way, I think.
Okay, so you might want to move a little faster. That way you get through the whole thing.
Okay, we'll do it.
Okay.
So free isn't great. Donation. Let's get on here. So the question you got to ask is separate, and is can you train your staff? Can you find trained staff, and what kind of support you're going to get? Well, I was surprised to hear that you're using LibreOffice. That is probably the most open stuff. And for those of you who don't know, it's got essentially all of the Office equivalent to the Office stuff. How they did this without violating some kind of getting into some kind of legal battle with Microsoft, I don't know. But so these slides were presented with the LibreOffice Impress, and it took me, let's say maybe a half a day before I'd produced stuff with it. So I was quite impressed. That worked, and that was really my serious work with it. So what I liked about the LibreOffice suite was that it was a free and it was a simple learning curve, and most anybody who has gotten involved with Microsoft products will find it easy to use. Now, if you're going to get serious about this, you want to try different operating systems, there's a trick, and that's this Oracle called a VirtualBox. Oracle makes available, runs on your computer in such a way that you can experiment without fear. It's a protected environment, meaning if your experiment fails, I mean completely fails, it doesn't mess up with the rest of your computer. It does that by partitioning off a small amount of your RAM and a small amount of your hard drive. And for example, if you're a Windows user, you could run Linux, or even they say Mac OS. I haven't tried that, but that's one of my, we'll try in the future when I have a little time. So what I'm trying is I'm trying the LibreOffice, of course, we talked about it, and I'm moving to Linux. Linux, the development came from the early days of Unix. This was before there was a Microsoft Office, and it is a very stable operating system. It comes in what are called distros, many distributions, and I think there are some 40 some of them out there. Most of them are totally free. Some of them, like Red Hat, has a vision that you buy, but you get some additional support as a result. I picked Ubuntu, and I can't give you a guarantee as to why I picked that, except that, of course, I looked on the internet and it said it was a popular one. And you know, if you read it on the internet, it's true. So I did. And what most reasons people have steered away from Linux in the past is because it didn't have a GUI, or a graphical user interface, kind of like Word or Windows. And the newer versions like Ubuntu actually has a graphical user interface, and I find that I found that fairly easy to work with. So I've talked a little bit about why I like Windows. It's going to be here, it's going to be around, and particularly if you're trying to hire employees, you want to think carefully before you move away from it. You do have some alternatives, and I'm doing it primarily because I'm a geek and because I like to learn new things. But I think they have some real meaningful for other people as well. And you do have options. So a warning, before you go buying some or trying out some of these new things, make sure you backed up your work, because sooner or later you're going to crash the system. If you've done the VirtualBox thing, you're probably okay and probably never going to hurt yourself. But boy, you don't want to lose years worth of work. So always, please, back up your systems. So breaking news, ta-da! While I was preparing this, I found out, maybe because of the Microsoft is feeling the pinch of some of this free software, that Microsoft is supposedly making available a free version of the Office suite. I haven't tried it, but it's something you should be aware of. So thank you. Sorry for all the confusion getting started. I need to learn lessons too. And if you have any questions, or I put on the chat my contact information, don't hesitate to give me a call or email, because I love to talk. And that's it. Let's talk. Okay, Adam, take it away.
Great, John. Yeah, you really ramped it up there and got through all that real quick. That's great. So that was new to me, the Oracle box, but I'd heard most of the other things.
Good.
Did you have any questions, Annie? You seemed really interested in this idea.
I was. So can you pull up that slide where you had the options, LibreOffice, Ubuntu, and then you talked about the Oracle? I'm kind of curious.
I think those were two different slides, but yeah.
But there was only one. Okay, well, let's see.
I'll tell you. Yeah, yeah.
Yep, I'm sure. Let's see if I can get to it. So is my screen still being showed?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. Okay. In the meantime that you're trying to pull that up, I'm really curious to know, I could probably use one of these, but you didn't talk about Azure, you didn't talk about enterprise. Can we cover that somehow? Because that's what I'm really looking for.
Okay. I looked at it from my own personal standpoint. And
you're coming out, I can't hear you, John. I don't know if it's your headset or what. I'm having a hard time hearing you.
There, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, my Pro microphone's getting worn out. We'll get there yet.
Right, so you have the open source.
So
which is.
There he goes. Oh, go back.
There's Oracle.
Let's go back one slide.
So yeah, I want to, like, the Oracle, can we cover that a little bit? Yeah, so you've got the Oracle
Okay,
option.
now I think if I do shift and click, that's what I'm trying. I thought that took me back one side, but we can work from here, I think.
Oh, that's
So
good.
anyway, so okay, what can I tell you about Oracle? That-
Well, like I said, I'm looking for options. I've been considering Azure as an enterprise solution. I don't want to have to, I want one license and I want options, right? Because as a company, I'm not just looking at it from an individual perspective, I'm looking at it from an enterprise perspective. That's
Sure.
what I'm looking at. So, you didn't cover, right? I mean, Google Suite, I'm using that at the moment, is Google Suite. They've got different tool sets in there that I can use, certainly. And the fact that I get 2 terabytes of hard disk storage, that's where I back up my files. If
Yeah.
anything happens to any of my working files that I've worked on for the past year, I can get to it that way and recover from there.
I restricted myself to stuff that was free or really, really close to free. And so I looked at what Google offered, and I said, okay, what they offer from a free standpoint, does it get me anything better than if I use Ubuntu Linux? And from my admitted very corner of the world where I'm interested in software development and not like your enterprise software, then I'm not much help to you. That's a part of the world that I haven't ever looked at seriously. So I'm afraid I'm not going to be of much help to you there.
Right. So to me, that's, well, so this is more on the free side. I'm not necessarily looking for free. I'm looking for, free is, I don't know, such an oxymoron statement. Affordability and some sensibility is what I'm looking for.
Sure.
Right. I don't mind paying the price. If it offers me what I need and it's a fair price, I'm paying $25 a month for Google Suite. And it's not been a problem for me. That's nominal. That's the cost. That's what I call CODB, cost of doing business. We're all entrepreneurs here, right? We need to think.
Absolutely. And for most really casual users, and I think you're beyond the casual users thing, I would really question whether they should ever move away from Microsoft, as long as that fits within their idea of what the cost of doing business is, because it's there and you're going to be able to find trained users already. I remember at Schweitzer, we had like 20 or so operators for our test equipment, and because it was a university town, they changed pretty regular, and it was also kind of an entry level into the company for it. So every year we had a whole new batch of operators. I never had to train them on how to use Windows. I had to sometimes train them on how to use a specific application for our test equipment. Never had to train them on Windows.
Right. Yeah. Microsoft being the universal platform that's accepted in practice, I think most people navigate to that because of that. But I'm certainly open to, Azure is now part of Microsoft, and I think I'm looking at that as, for me, an enterprise solution as well as a personal use, because it offers a heck of a lot more, right? Yep. Subscription model, that kind of stuff. And so, yeah.
Now this is my personal prejudice, but I've found that if there's a complicated way of doing something, Microsoft will find it. And it's just my personal prejudice, and I have found for the kinds of things like what I want to do. I want to create a small microprocessor controller to run a hydroponic greenhouse. You know, I can do that in Linux and know that it's going to be pretty much that I'm not going to have any problems with viruses and so forth. So I don't think, Annie, I'm a big help to you. I think, you know, I applaud you. Congratulations on doing what you're doing. And I just have a small corner of the world and don't think I can be a big help to you.
So
Okay.
what I'm seeing on here, I looked up about the free. This isn't about Azure, but this is about Microsoft. The free version is for students and teachers, apparently, and then you can get a free trial for a month, where you put your credit card in order to get the free trial, and of course, at the end of the month, then they helpfully charge you so that you have it for a year.
Also, we found out since let me just a little brag about this has been a good month for me. I just turned 80, and my daughter just graduated from honors from the U of M.
Congratulations!
Thank
on
you.
both fronts.
But we found out as she was taking one of her classes with the free software offered for students. But when she got into one of her advanced accounting courses, the free version of Excel couldn't do what she did. But because we're a nerdy family, we had several copies of the real Excel sheet around.
That's
so
funny.
She was able to do it and finish her course. So I suspect if Microsoft says it's free, it's some limited capability. And you know, hey, they've won the marketing share. They can do what they want to.
Yeah.
You know, I'm low hanging fruit. I amongst the many jobs I did, I actually sold a custom designed printed circuit or integrated circuit to Microsoft for one of their mouse circuits. And as the engineer told me there, if you had a power meter that indicated Microsoft's budget, our total mouse business wouldn't even wiggle the needle.
Yeah.
Yet, let me tell you, it was good business for me.
Yeah. That's great. Well, thank you for the presentation and letting us know about those options. It's also good to know like the price range of like what your, so if you wanted to improve this, you might mention the thing you told Annie, which is that you're going for free or near to free. So like, you know, enterprise stuff may
Appreciate
not be in
that.
there.
Yes.
Your transition from the your history to then suddenly talking about the topic, there might be a nicer transition there of like, you know, how does that tie to the topic? Because it was really interesting talking about the I thought it was interesting you talking about the punch card system, and then suddenly you're talking about Windows 2010 or whatever, and I was like, whoa, okay, all right, now we're on to another thing. Yeah.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I realized that, but sort of too late to get
right. You did good.
Thank you.
And then yeah, so thank you for presenting. What I'm going to do now is we'll finish up with the my presentation here. Just do
you take over the screen now?
I have the ability to take over the screen.
You steal it from me.
Yeah, I think I did that. Did I do that? Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah, I think
I'm not seeing the green. I'm not seeing the green outline around my stuff. Oh, there it is. It was hiding for a bit.
Okay.
Now I've got my green outline. There's a thing Zoom does, John, that there's like a slight highlight that it does around.
Yeah.
That's green. You can't see it, but as a presenter, I can see which window is actually being used because
actually on my screen where I have, you know, individual pictures, you have a slight green line around your, so
I'm around my face. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the same thing happens around whichever window I'm sharing, except it's thicker. Anyway,
Okay.
I don't see it now because I put it in presentation mode. So 10-second ask with these 2 seconds or 2 minutes we have left. What's 10-second thing I can do for you, Annie, and for you, John, that would help you with your quest?
Annie, go ahead.
Oh, me? Well, my ask, I'm kind of looking for social impact investors for my community development. I am progressing on that with National Science Foundation. I'm also looking for software enterprise alternatives. This is why this was kind of key for me. I was hoping to shed some more light. And John, I grew up with Unix. I was a programmer. So there's a learning curve to Linux and Unix that most people don't know. It may be free, but it's not really free.
Yeah, that's what he said,
Because
huh?
you have a learning curve there.
Sure.
So that's my ask. Investors, social impact investors, and software enterprise alternatives.
Great.
That's affordable and practical.
Yeah, and Gwen has kind of joined us. She's not talking yet, but hi, Gwen. And then so if she has a chance, she can chime in there a little bit, but we're about out of time. So John, what's a 10-second ask we can do for you?
Find me some people who that I could help contribute, either writing software or automating some of their stuff. I've got a brother who has a small business selling unusual and hybrided tomatoes, and the amount of automation he gets out of Excel. And Adam, I can see you're a heavy user of Excel, so you'll probably understand that.
Yeah.
I just like to work and help people develop that. So small companies, startup companies, that's the kind of people I'd like to work with.
Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining me today, and keep the sparks flowing.
Thank you.
Gwen?
Have a good evening. Have a good weekend.
Gwen's still there? Is she?
Gwen, yeah,
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Gwen.
Hi.
Yeah, I'm here.
So Gwen, go
So
ahead.
there's a Civi CRM one-day conference today.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a CRM open source CRM software.
Can you share that link in the chat?
CV as CIVI CRM having one-day conference today. Yeah, do you have a link for that, Gwen?
I have to look for it. Are you cutting me off now?
Not necessarily. I mean, especially if you have the ability to pull that up. I think that.
We'll wait for it. We'll go when it's over.
Annie seems excited about it.
Because I'm looking for CRM systems as well.
Boy, if you haven't used CRM software, it makes a difference in the world. It's really important.
Well, yeah, right. Because you've got like Salesforce.com customizable, and I've worked with that. I've worked with implementing Salesforce.com before. And then I have other CRM systems that are specific to certain industries, like the real estate, because that's what I'm interested in. So I'm interested in that.
It used to be a person. That was one of the things that I thought was kind of fun. Used to be, there was actually client resource managers as a person. Isn't that something?
Well, yeah, we can automate and roboticize certain things, shall we say.
Yeah.
And it's a great tool, and it's especially very, very useful in the real estate industry.
Oh, I think it'd be essential for real estate.
Oh yeah, especially because I'm not an agent. I like to think of myself as an investor as opposed to an agent. There is a difference. So I don't want to sell. I want to invest. That's kind of where I'm at.
So what is CV event? CV allows you to define different types of events, such as, all right. Create a CVCRM user guide. Online event registration.
Yeah, is there a link? Did you guys find the link?
I think Gwen is, but I'm also just kind of glancing. Gwen, you're trying to find the link?
Yeah, but I need to get to my email, and this Wi-Fi is so slow.
That's a bummer.
Not a bummer. We've taken these things for
Oh.
granted.
Oh, I have a question.
Yes.
OpenVPN, is that a okay use of VPN, or should I just pay for like Nord or other VPN?
John?
Not one I'm familiar with. uh,
Yeah, that's a good question. So Nord also has a VPN?
Well, it's a paid.
Uh-huh.
Where are you?
Well, it probably has a lot to do with your opinion of open source and your risk aversion.
yeah, I think that's well put. Yes.
So if you really buy into the open source mentality, and you're pretty happy with, from what I gather, there's well, of course, as John mentioned earlier in his presentation, Microsoft is likely to get viruses just because it's so ubiquitous. It's just everywhere, and so if someone wanted to cause some damage, that's a place they can have a good punch. Whereas open source stuff is possibly more vulnerable, but less tantalizing.
Well put. I can remember when I first started, they told me nobody ever gets fired, John, for buying IBM. And
There you
I think
go.
nowadays, probably true that nobody ever gets fired for going with Microsoft. But I think there's some reasons to think about other alternatives.
During May 28th, CVI CRM, she put this in the chat. Gwen did. Thanks.
Yeah, yes, I just saw that.
We will be focusing on what it takes to choose and maintain the right environment to keep CVCRM running well in production. Cool. Well, thank you, Gwen, for that. So we'll check that out. And thank you, everybody. I'm going to get ready. I've got a client coming up here, and I'm glad you guys joined us.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Have a good one.
Bye.